Hey guys, insight number, where are we? 4. Yeah, 4 already. Wow, that was quick. Okay, 4. Problems with immorality. This is what this chapter's about. So, really, verses 19 and 20 really talk about it. It says, "What? Know you not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So that's your identity. And temples are places to connect with God, we know that, and our body is a temple. So in ourselves, we can connect with God. You don't need to go to a building. While as beautiful as it is, it's a building. And actually, it's a place of worship, yes, but we can be too. And we're worth that price, but the problem of immorality. So there's a lot of things going in there, and probably, maybe sum up this with your kids rather than reading it through with your kids, because it's a lot to take in, and there's some things in here that can be very easily misunderstood, and some of them might not be ready for these kind of words. This is some heavy stuff here. So let's just go to the Come Follow Me manual and read what it says about this. It says, "My body is sacred." Most people in Corinth felt that sexual immorality was acceptable, and their bodies were made primarily for pleasure. Now, we talked about that because they're mostly Greek. The culture was just, hey, eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow you're going to die. So, have fun today. Which, can be a lot of fun, but it's quite empty and hollow feeling as well. So in other words, Corinth was not that different than the world today, because the world today teaches us the same thing. Have this thing, do this, do that, do whatever you want to do, because there's no point in anything afterwards. And Paul teaches in here that, it's actually better to live a chaste life. And so why do you think that is? And, I've taught this lesson to young women and primary children. Doesn't get talked so much about in Relief Society, and I think when you go to Relief Society or even to priesthood, which I can't say that I've been that often to priesthood classes, wonder why. Actually, I've been once. The lesson was not about this. But I think often in Relief Society they assume that you've already got this down, and you don't. This is a very sticky topic to talk about. A lot of people don't like talking about it. A lot of people don't like bringing this up, even with their children, but it is important. And I had a group of young women, I'm just going to shoot this just to get the point across. I had a group of young women I was teaching, probably about 11, 12 years ago now. Gosh, it's gone quick. Wonderful young ladies, and one of them's on a mission, about to go on a mission, and the others are married, and it's beautiful to see them happy and good. And I'm not to say that they haven't had their share of partying, but they got the point of the message I'm about to tell you as well. And that, because we were talking it was in this chapter we were talking too. And verse 7 is interesting. It says, "Now therefore there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do you not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? And nay, ye do wrong and defraud and your brethren, and it's unrighteous." And you're like, well, what's he talking about? Is he talking about judging one another or sexual immorality? He's talking about sexual immorality, and there is judgment in each other when you have sexual immorality. And they were like, well, why can't we? Why is it so important? They asked that question, why are we defrauding ourselves? What's so bad? And this is a culture that exists amongst our youth. What is so bad with experimenting a little, having a bit of fun? I'm not saying I'm going to have sexual relations with someone, but, I want to play around a bit. What's so wrong with that? And then, repenting and growing up and settling down. And it's like, well, because it's not evil. It's not, and it happens. Human desires are very real. I know this. But this was the interesting thing that hit home for me. And again, this is one of those things that when I was young, I was of the same mind. I'm like, hey, I'm fine. I'm just enjoying myself. Leave me alone. Adults trying to tell me messages that just didn't sit with me at the time. But years later, and this is what I said to the young woman. I was like, okay, because I said talk to their parents. I was saying talk to their parents, and they're like, oh, but they won't tell me anything. They just give me this, just don't do anything till you're married. And they're like, they don't get it. And you've got to tell them more and tell them why. These are smart young people, and they need to know. I was the same. I wanted to know, and nobody would tell me. So this is when it hit home for me. So I had a few boyfriends when I was younger. Not thousands, but a couple here and there. A few meaning more than 7, but not a multitude. And one of them I had fun with for like 3 weeks. We partied, we went to the beach. He was a surf lifesaver. He was really good looking. Lovely guy. Didn't love each other or anything, but we just had a lot of fun. Including sexual relations. And it was a parting of ways, and we were all good of it. We were like, okay, I'll see someone else. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like, it was all good. And didn't really think much about it. Years later, and we're talking like 10 years later almost, he marries one of my better friends that I had at the time, who's kind of drifted from me now, not because of that, just time and space, but we were good friends at high school, and when we see each other we still catch up. It's great, just time and space. He marries her there at church. He's called onto our bishopric, and I go in for my temple recommend interview, and I've now got to sit there in a temporary recommend interview knowing all the things that I've done with this member of the bishopric, but when neither of us were at church. Very awkward, and his wife knows what we did and that I'm her friend, and it has a level of to it. Like, it's just tricky. It's not bad, but it could have been. And my young woman that I was teaching this to, and they're just like, oh yeah, didn't think about that. I'm like, no, you don't think about that future. When you're that age, you don't think 10 years ahead and think, oh, well, what if I had a kid and then they end up there and then I have someone else, and it gets complicated. And it's not fulfilling either. It's fun. Yes, it is fun, but it's not fulfilling. It is empty, and we're selling ourselves short of something that is very beautiful, that if you do in an act of love, and even if you don't believe in being married, because you might not, whoever's watching this, you might not believe in that, but if you do those things in an act of love, do those bedroom activities, I'll call them, in an act of love, not that you have to be in a bedroom, they're so much more fulfilling and satisfying. Otherwise they're just really empty, and you keep searching for stuff and it's hollow, and it can just lead to a really ugly road. And I think for those of you that have done that, you know that. For those of you that haven't and don't experience that, you often don't understand it. So it seems to be two schools of thought there. You either get it or you don't get it. And I would rather that you don't get it and to not experience that and to really hold out. But maybe you don't, and maybe you're in the I get it boat. So try and explain that the best you can to the younger people, appropriately, of course, but the best you can. That's my thoughts on that. It's not easy being in a physically pleasured or pleasurable body, whether it comes to food, drugs, alcohol, or sexual relations, or any of those things, and to keep it in check. And that's what he was trying to teach these people. That's what we need to know now too. There's so much more available now, stimulants and downers that can relax us. There's drugs for all sorts of things. There's, the world's telling us, don't do this, do something else because it's better, it's more, whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, we can take some of that on board. But really, again, be spirit-led and know where your boundaries are and hold them. So it's going to be better for you. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on that. Hopefully not too R-rated for some of you, but I wanted to be honest, So, okay. We're going to go to talk about marriage, because that ties in, doesn't it? But what Paul teaches in here is seeming like he doesn't like it, and yet that's not the case at all. Right. So hang around. We'll talk about that.